Hello everyone, I'm Bodo the Wild. Welcome back to Custom Robo. Today is the day. We've made it to the dance. And I don't think anyone's gonna get this promo from ECW, but we are in Endgame. This is the last day. This last day is the longest. Like, I'll show you how long this is. This episode, episode 12, Episode 13, Episode 14, and Episode 15, which are the final episodes, are all this day. It is the longest. It is filled with the most story and is filled with probably the most fights. Of course, before we actually go and join the police, we have to head over to Ernest. And Ernest is like, yeah, you guys got a call. You guys have a job, but I don't know what it is. And he's gonna do a spiel where he actually shows that he does care for us. Even though I'm pretty sure Ernest already does care for us. He has a feeling that he knows how dangerous this is. And he's just wanting us to be safe. Again, this is where I go on to say Ernest is probably one of the best characters. He's one of the most visually striking and has some of the best moments in the game. It's around here where we get our first, I'm gonna describe this by using another game. You know how in the beginning of a Super Mario RPG, not Super Mario RPG, Super Paper Mario, that's the game. You know how in the beginning of Super Paper Mario, you're asked, hey, do you want to save the world? And you can deny it multiple times and you'll get a game over that way. You can do that in this game. You can say you do not want to join the police squad, and you have to do it like 6 to 10 times, and you'll get a non-standard game over. It's funny. I don't do it because it does take a lot of time to actually get to the bit where you get the game over. It's funny because what happens is then that in that game over, Rahu defeats everyone and then goes to the city, and then Harry complains that you let him die. Even though he's dead, his ghost complains to you. There'll be another time where there's a bit of optional bit. I won't show it off, the optional choice you can do, but I will talk about it when we get to it. Again, the reason why I didn't pick it is because you have to pick it like 6 to 10 times for the non-standard game over to happen. Much like in Super Paper Mario. Except in Super Paper Mario, it's like 4 times that you have to say no, and then the game just ends. But with that said, we're going to take the bathroom train over to the outside world. I do like the animation that we're gonna see where any character messing with the handprint, they do a very exaggerated, I'ma slam my hand into this handprint. It's very exaggerated and I've always liked that animation. I think it's funny when you always have a large group of people following you because you can make everyone spin around in a circle and it's hilarious. I don't do that just because there's no reason for me to do it. But it's funny when you have that many group of people and you just spin around in a circle. Now, this first part of the final day is filled with a lot of rando battles. We don't fight anyone real important. We fight a lot of grunts. But we do get to see some new maps, so that's always nice. Then everyone, yeah, I'd say everyone's just reassuring that, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna win. This animation's always funny here because instead of using the closest hand to the button, the left hand, they use the right hand. I don't know why. I don't think I pointed that out last episode because the chief does it as well. Technically, you could consider this a sewer level. We have to enter through a manhole. Of course, the characters won't mention it until we get to the fork in the road, but we have a fork in the road, so we're gonna have to split up. We're gonna have to Scooby-Doo it. I will say the music track for the Z Syndicate Hideout is another one of my favorite tracks. I would still say my favorite tracks is Panic Cube's music track. I just really like that music track. But this is a close second. Yeah, and we get the whole entire dissension between the Z Syndicate members. And we still haven't escaped tutorials yet. This is the last day and we're still getting tutorials. We're getting the more advanced techniques. We get to deal with a glaive, which, as I've mentioned earlier, is the strike vanisher, and we get to deal with Magma Hole again. It's been a while since we've actually seen Magma Hole. A lot of the Z Syndicate grunts have hazard-based maps, where they'll have a magma zone that you have to avoid. So they're starting it off simple with a Magma Hole, which is a map we've already seen, but we will see newer maps. Of course, since this is not a named person, it's just a grunt, it's not a hard fight. I will say the flamethrower and the pod that I'm using work very well together, because when you do damage with the flamethrower, it generally knocks them up. You generally want to use, when you're using aerial chaser pods, any weapon or bomb that knocks the enemy up, because they'll be blasted by the pod itself. Outside the standard seeker pod that I like using, I really like using this aerial chaser pod. I just can't remember its name. Hey, we get the needle gun, which is another one of my favorite guns to use if you get real up close with it, as it generally knocks down almost anything besides metal grapplers. The float pod is really good. That's the name of it. Just because if you use anything that knocks enemy up into the air, the float pod will get them. Hey, remember Shiner? Yeah, we get to fight him again. This Elvis-looking dude. I've already made that joke, but he does look like Elvis. And he kind of dresses like him. And Harry's giving us information about the Lightning Sky model, which I've already said. They can only do one air dash, and while it can cover a lot of ground, you have to be very careful where you land because you're dedicated to that air dash. But this fight is the exact same fight that we had against him in Boogies. Still the same map in the Crevice Court. He still uses the flamethrower. I think his leg part might be different, but don't quote me on that. This is practically the same fight. I will say me using the needle gun in this fight isn't a great choice because it's hard to hit with the needle gun against a Lightning Sky model because you have to be close enough to them. That and the farther away, the harder it is to actually knock someone down with the needle gun. And the needle gun is like the shotgun in that it's a lot better if you're up close. It also doesn't home in. So it's, again, it's a lot better to be a lot closer to your opponent with the needle gun. But yeah, it's not any different from the last time we fight him. And we get the Defender, which is a Lightning Sky model. This Zlaki's actually given us a tutorial where they talk about combos where you hit someone with the pod or bomb and then hit them with the gun and you'll immediately knock them down. Combos are really dependent on what pods, bombs, and gun you have. Yeah, and this guy's talking about short jump shooting, where you just hit A and B at the same time, you'll immediately fire your gun in the air. I wouldn't say it's all that great of a technique, because depending on what your weapon is, if you fire immediately, you'll just miss. It's really dependent on what gun you have. Also, no, you can't immediately leave the Z-Lack. He will be like, where are you going? You have to fight me. Using the Metal Bear with the drill gun, making him super dangerous up close. And we still haven't experienced a new map yet, which sucks, because it's just the basic cell. Which is one of the police squad's maps. However, because he's using a metal grappler, his dash hinders him because he only has one dash. Which means I can easily cut him off with any of my dashes. The needle gun is also another one of the weapons that likes to mess with the audio when you hit with all three shots up close. It's not so bad when you're not using speakers and you're using a headset, but if you're using like speakers or a TV to play the game, yeah, your eardrums and everything else around you will be blown out. You'll have broken glass windows. And somehow Mira lost to a lackey, I don't know how. This is where Mira's talking about, hey, if you have proximity pods, place them all over the map. That's super easy to figure out. Don't know why I need a tutorial on that. Yeah, we have to deal with another metal grappler in the Metal Ape. Here's our first unique map, Double Deadline. Essentially, the stage is always on a conveyor belt. Some of the conveyor belts will go up, some of the conveyor belts will go down, and on both sides of the map there are hazard zones. You can end fights really fast in this Coliseum, just because, again, you take full amount of damage when you're down and you fall into a hazard. It's like you take, I don't know what the percentage is of damage you take when you're down and you get hit with a gun or a pod or a bomb, but it doesn't apply for hazards. You take full damage when you are down and fall into a hazard. And again, a hazard will immediately down you. Good use of the needle gun and the float pod, as the needle gun will slightly knock the opponent up into the air, allowing the float pod to run into them. We finally get the pod I like using the most, the Seeker pod. Yeah, but before we can actually heal Mira, we gotta deal with a Z-Lack who just got out of the shower and is wearing freaking, I think those are Z-print boxer shorts, I don't know. But we gotta deal with the last of the Metal Grappler family, the Metal Ox, and he's using the shotgun. And we're going back to Magma Hole. Again, I have to be a lot more careful here just because I know the needle gun won't immediately down the enemy when I hit them up close because they're Metal Grappler. But also being too close allows them to hit me with the shotgun. So I have to engage in almost medium range exclusively. The Metal Ox dash is kind of jank in the fact that the beginning frames of it don't actually have iframes, so I easily hit them out of it. You get iframes on a lot of your dash, on almost all your dash attacks for every robo. It's just that they are sometimes not immediate. Or if you're playing as the Javelin does not have iframes on its dash, but in exchange for that, it can dash multiple times. As you can see there. That does make the Javelin probably one of the better Strike Vanishers, just because of its multiple dash. Because you can do a whole lot of damage without having to use your gun when you knock down the enemy. It also comes out really fast compared to a lot of other dashes. And we finally get the shotgun. One of my other favorite parts. And that guy's just going to be knocked out without any pants. What a sad fate. Those will be a part of my. I basically have my standard loadout right now for my robo. So I won't change out of this unless there is a situation or a fight that needs me to change out. Basically, these researchers are going to be talking about illegal parts and what they do. I've already explained what they do. They're just better versions of standard parts. And they generally remove any of the weaknesses that the original part had. This is our second new stage, the Magma Ruins. The whole entire map is filled with the hazard zone, so you have to stay in the middle of the map, and this is another map where you can easily end fights, just because if you get knocked into the magma while downed, you'll take full damage. The AI is also not that bright when it comes to playing on Magma Ruins, as it'll sometimes slide into the magma. That was a nice wombo right there. Hit him, knock him down with the shotgun, the Seeker Pod hits him, it knocks him into the magma, and it does full damage. And yeah, right there, he just walks right into the magma, killing himself. Again, the AI generally falls apart if there's a hazard zone on the map. We get the formula legs. They're not a bad leg part, it's just that wide jump or feather are a lot better. Yeah, it just increases the running speed for your robo, which, depending on what robo you're playing as, that would be a better thing to do. Yeah, I kind of fiddled a bit right there, just because I didn't know if I wanted to show off what happens if you try to leave, but I showed it off, and then the guy's just like, where are you going? You have to fight me. Again, the Javelin and any Strike Vanisher gets the advantage of using the formula legs because they have a lower run speed. He has the Trap Gun. The Trap Gun, what it does is when you fire it on the ground, it fires invisible projectiles that will wait around 4 seconds before they start going after you. The whole entire point of the Trap Gun is literally just using it as a diversion. You fire it, and then you fire some pods and bombs, and then you wait for the trap shot to actually hit them. If you fire it in the air, it just acts as a regular projectile, as you saw right there. It's not a bad weapon, it's just that you have to be smart with it. And well, I like the shotgun more, so... This is the single deadline. It's the same as double deadline, except there's only one hazard zone, and all the conveyor belts are going towards it. Yeah, you can hear him fire it, and you can see that the invisible bullets are there, and then they'll chase after you after a set period of time. However, because you have to wait for the bullets to fire, if you get knocked down by a gun, those invisible bullets will disappear, so you have to be very keep away with the trap gun. This is where we get our explanation of illegal parts. It's kind of like setting off the safety switch. It puts a lot more stress on an enemy robo, so when you hit them with it, they'll do more damage. It'll do more damage to them. There's gotta have regulations so you don't kill people in robo fights. Like, it's very strange for someone to die in a robo fight. Illegal parts make it more likely for you to kill someone in a robo fight. But with that said, this has been episode 12, and we'll continue on in episode 13.